September 25th, the new Fox Tuesday kicks off with New Girl's new season. Then welcome Ben and Kate.
Stay away from my sister before you find out what 6 years of Krav Maga feels like. Well, like year and a half plus like 4 years on and off I was traveling.
Followed by another all-new New Girl.
What am I looking at here? Pure, unadulterated friendship.
And the Mindy Project.
Can't believe you're tattling.
Tattling is when a little girl does it, okay? When a hot woman does it, it's called whistleblowing.
The new Fox Tuesday, premieres September 25th on Fox.
You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Miriam and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's LA Complex After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's LA Complex After Show.
Hey guys, being it's for doing, and we are here doing another exciting after show for the LA Complex. And tonight, instead of just one episode, we're actually doing 2 episodes. And as you can tell, probably I'm super excited because I just saw it, literally just saw it tonight because I had to work last night. But I'm still freaking blown away and amazed at how amazing the show is. But another thing that's great about tonight is that we have a special guest, and I'll introduce him in a minute. But first, I'm your host, Emile Ennis Jr., and I'm joined here with 2 ladies tonight.
Hi, I'm Miriam. I'm Kellie.
And we're missing Bam. Bam is out of town, but I'm sure he is.
Bam.
I'm sure he's watching us live right now, and if he isn't, then he will see us or listen to us tomorrow. But I want to introduce our very special guest. You may know him as Chris, the lawyer on the show, but his real name is Jarod Joseph. Jarod, are you there?
I'm here, my man.
Hey, Jarod.
Hi. Oh, Jarod, I'm not very pleased with you right now. After seeing,
what did I do, brother?
After seeing tonight's episodes, we're gonna get into it, but
you stole Cal's heart.
Why you gotta get up in between my boys?
I mean, let's
you know, it's the natural evolution in Cal's life. He's got to move on. Gotta give it the lawyer, you know what I'm saying?
Obviously. I mean, well, the show opens up with Kaldrick getting on a plane in the first of these 2 episodes this week, with Kaldrick getting on a plane with Abby to go and find Tariq, which was Chris or Christopher's suggestion on the show. It's like, you've got to kind of settle your business with Tariq if you're going to move on, which he does with you eventually. And so naturally, you know, we've all been rooting for Tariq over here because their love triangle has been so rocky and so, I mean, I don't even know the proper word for it. It's just been messed up.
Yeah.
Well, you know, but the thing that I like the most about it, and that's one of the great things I think about the writing in this show, is it didn't go the way you think it's going to go. It didn't go the way that most shows would go, and the oh so happy ending that they were gonna hug and all of that, and it was emotional, but it was closure.
Okay, well, here's my thing, Mr. Lawyer. So, you know, we were introduced to Chris the lawyer a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
And, you know, Bam said he predicted that they were going to get together or whatever. I didn't see it. I saw a little bit maybe, but Bam was the first one who predicted it. And then, you know, they had their whole altercation. Yes, he did say go see Tariq. So my issue was, you know, we haven't seen Tariq for weeks. And then literally tonight, Miriam was in the studio with me, or in the screening room when I watched it. Literally when Tariq came on the screen, I was like, reunited again. And then he's only on the screen for like 5 minutes, and then Kal goes running back to the lawyer dude. And let's talk about Tariq being with the white dude now. Tariq, what's going on? I was built up waiting to have them reunite, but I understand where you're coming from too, where you're saying they didn't do what you expected them to do. And at the same time, granted, there has been this big build up. I don't think it would be right for them to get back together either, considering what he did. And yes, he did need to move on and grow. And that was really sad, though, when Tariq said, "I'm glad I could help you grow." I kind of teared up right there.
Well, it's the natural progression of relationships, and that's what makes this show so relatable. And when people find it, they get so drawn to it because these are things that actually happen. It isn't always a special happy ending at the end of it. It doesn't always start off nice and fluffy and happy with bells and whistles and roses and stuff. You know, sometimes it's you know, the interaction that Chris and Kal had where, you know, Chris, your character's openly gay on the show.
Yes, absolutely.
And, you know, Kaldrick's character is not. And so that is really appealing to, you know, the audience out there that kind of is familiar and going with the same type of situation. You know, we've heard from Andre in the past when we've had him on that people are very, and also from Ben,
Mm-hmm.
how a lot of people are loving their storyline because it's so relatable. And so for Jarod, for your character to come out and really start to pull out this not so much openness, but the ability for Kaldrick's character to develop and be the person of who he is just something that's really delicious to see.
Delicious.
It is delicious because you want him to come out. You want him to be happy. I mean, the ultimate goal for anyone in life is to be happy. And if you're living in the dark and you're living in a world of secrets, where's the happiness in that? He's constantly torn with the person who he is and the person he used to be. And as he says to your character, Chris, in these episodes, he's like, you know, I can't just step out there. I can't go from 0 to 60. And so it makes me wonder, you know, with Kaldrick now coming to your character has helped him slowly developing and kind of come to grips with the situation. And, you know, once he goes and he sees Tariq and he gets that closure and he naturally comes back to your character, I mean, how do you feel that your character has influenced Kaldrick in any way? I mean, I see it, but, I mean, there's always a different perspective.
First of all, I got to say shout-outs to Martin Jarro for brilliantly tackling this entire subject, and not only, you know, homosexuality and hip-hop and black homosexuality, but even something as small as having Tariq's boyfriend be a white guy yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, something as small as that is just, I don't know how intentional it was, but I got to throw that in there. As far as Kal's growth, I mean, I would hope that in some ways Christopher mirrors a lot of personality traits that Kal has, and Kal clearly sees a lot of that, and the idea of being a homosexual and not forfeiting your manhood at the same time is something that's viable. Whereas I think in the previous season and previous episodes, the idea of being gay to him has been, I can't be a man anymore. I can't, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I would hope that Christopher was an influence in the sense that you can be all those things, brother.
Do you think that when you see the two relationships, when you step away from them, Kaldrick's relationship with Tariq was one of a childish nature, where now with your character, it's more of an adult thing. It's like, here's Tariq living in the LA complex in a studio apartment, starting off not really put together yet, not successful, where that's kind of like that high schooly 18-year-old fresh young 20s kind of love, where your character is more you're a grown man and you have your stuff together and you have a career and you have your own pad and you are on top of your game. So do you, like, stepping out of it, do you think that makes his character feel better about the situation because it's a little bit more adult?
100%. And it has nothing to do with Ben's portrayal of Tariq. First of all, Ben, amazing performance last night, brother. Way to close it out. But in a lot of ways, the fact that Tariq wasn't out himself, and they were both experiencing, I guess, for the first time together, kind of did add to what you said, the high school thing and the hiding and the running around about it all, and the fact that he sees me walking around every single day going to work, a well-off dude, confident. And Kal's all those things in every other aspect of his life. And I think for the first time he sees that he can be who he is sexually and keep all that other stuff.
And that's the thing that I think when I said when they first it was in the office when he was trying to leave and then the lawyer got really aggressive. I think that's the reason why you said as far as with Tariq it was kind of like a childlike relationship. And it's a matter of, you know, obviously Kal was still exploring or trying to figure out who he was. Tariq, even though he kind of knows who he is, he still wasn't out in the open. And so it was still kind of this hiding that they were dealing with. But then with Chris, the lawyer, like you said, he sees that he can be professional and he can live and be himself without the world judging him, even though it's a completely different environment. But he can be a man, and that was the main thing that I think attracted him to Chris. But going back to Tariq, my thing is, you know, Tariq goes up and he basically makes this life for himself out in Montreal now, but do you think that he's gone for good now, or is he going to come back and, you know, fight for Kal and kill the lawyer, or
listen, ain't nobody killing the lawyer.
I mean, what? I didn't say that. But
the lawyer's living forever, brother.
Kal's gonna be the one doing the killing, and it's not gonna be.
But I mean,
his love
Come in and shake things up.
It is nice to see though, and the good thing I like about your character is it's nice to see Kal in a relationship where he can be comfortable, because even when he was with Tariq, the only time he was comfortable was when he was having sex in the bedroom or being really aggressive in the alleyway, beating him up on the wall, or somewhere where he couldn't be seen. And even though he's not necessarily out in the open, you guys took a big first step together when you went out to the restaurant and when they had breakfast. Yeah, that is a big first step, especially for somebody who isn't out yet. And even though he was still nervous and there were some moments where he wanted to leave immediately, he still stayed there with you. But as far as going beyond your character, we've talked about this with Andre and Ben. When you first auditioned for the role, what was going through your head? Were you nervous about taking the role because of the character's homosexuality and how you'd be seen in the black community, or?
I actually, when the first season was, after they had got the green light and they were doing casting, I got the script and I really wanted to be a part of it. So I remember reading the Tariq role, and there was nothing apprehensive about it on my end in terms of that, because the underworld of gay hip-hop or gay black culture is something that hasn't been on TV before. It's never talked about realistically, and at least in my community. I mean, a lot of my friends that have watched the show, the one thing that I was nervous about is when it was about 5 minutes away from shooting, was my ability to be convincing for the audience. I didn't, because Andre and I weren't familiar with each other. It wasn't necessarily the idea of doing something with a man. It was more about, A, my first on-screen kiss, and B, with a stranger.
Yeah.
So far so good. People have been overwhelmingly supportive of it.
We're
but
convinced.
As far as the gay thing, it's something I wanted to do. I wanted to do this for you know, hip-hop culture in a way, and black culture, and tell this story.
I was going to say, another thing is, I know with Andre and Ben, they really feel like they're giving certain black men and even closeted men a voice that they haven't necessarily seen on television before. And it's really a breakthrough role that I think, because when I went back home about a couple of months ago in May, and, you know, my father's a pastor and they have a really religious family, and they were saying, I don't understand how, they were talking about Kal and Ben's character, and they were saying, I don't understand how, you know, a black person could take this role, especially if they're not really gay and all this stuff, and, you know, I just don't approve this, and my father even walked out of the room. So there's a lot of, especially in the black community, a lot of people who really don't approve of this storyline, but it's nice to know that even though there's so many people who are so closed-minded, that you would still take the role and accept the criticism that some people would have. Have you had any major criticism from that role, or has most of it been positive?
None. Nothing negative.
That's great.
And that actually surprised me. I got a lot of friends who are old school, you know, in a lot of ways. But it's been overwhelmingly supportive all around since it aired. And that's probably a testament to our age group and, you know, the young people. It's not as bad as it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's more acceptable now.
Well, I think we're a lot more open-minded. There's just
out the gate, though. Out the gate. Like these are 25-year-old, 22-year-old people that have seen the show and come up to me, because even 5 years prior in age to me, they don't come from not seeing gays on TV necessarily, or openly gay artists. They've seen that. But a lot of the older people have also shown a lot of support, which was a bit of a surprise to me. I don't know if they're supporting the dude, me, but they're seeing it.
Well, that was.
I don't care if they're lying to me; they're watching it. You know.
That was what I was going to say. There's a lot of Tariq fans out there. Have you got any hate mail yet? Especially after last night's episode.
Tons.
Have you really?
Yeah. Tons, come on. Get that Obama lookalike off my TV.
That's so funny. Well, one of the things I like, I like so much about it that we see three different archetypes. We see, you know, an artist, we see a young professional, and then we see somebody struggling, trying to make it, trying to find himself. All three gay, male, strong black characters, which I think is amazing to watch on, you know, to see the different stages of, you know, you don't have to be this way, you don't have to be that way. It's okay, you can just be you. And it shows it in three different stages. And I think that's fantastic when you take the time to pay attention.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong here. It's, in terms of Kal and Chris making him comfortable with the gay thing, I'm not being naive in terms of hip-hop. I mean, hip-hop ain't ready for a gay DMX. I don't really think that's the case here, but I mean, as a man, I think it's important for him, you know, but in terms of professionally, I think that's a whole nother season.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's, you know, baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
So, with Kal's character now having your guidance, and it's interesting because when he went and came back to you in the second episode of this week and brought you the sculpture, that was a big effort on his part to, I mean, you were cute. You were like, did you actually go into a store and buy that? In my head, I'm thinking he probably went online.
He bought off Amazon at AfterBuzz TV's website.
Right.
He probably got it online just in good faith.
Well, I actually read one of the earlier drafts, and he had stole it from Tariq's new boyfriend.
Oh. that would be easy. Much easier. But in this episode, Kaldrick actually had a change of direction with his music. Do you feel that your character influenced that?
I'm not sure.
Because, I mean, the reason why, I mean, when you hear his lyrics in the past and how hard and how rough and in the streets and, you know, doing it hard and all this kind of stuff, and he goes to now talking about wanting to be himself and not being judged and being accepted and all that kind of stuff, it almost seems as if maybe a little bit of the closure with Tariq did that, but a lot of your influence, your character's influence, helped along with that. And when you guys were having, the one thought that came into my mind when you guys were having breakfast, the scene where you guys are having breakfast, naturally for him to go out into public with Tariq would have been very awkward and odd. But for him to go out to breakfast with you, here you are, you're this lawyer, you're professional. It's not anything out of the ordinary until it gets uncomfortable for him with the conversation. Because it'd be naturally acceptable, you know, if I'm sitting at the table with Kellie, nobody would think that we're hooking up until I'll be like, hey, girlie, can I, you know, so.
We're talking about you right now.
Okay.
It's just an example. But, you know, do you feel that your character has influenced his character in his music style?
I think there's a lot of things. I think the conversation with Infinite Jest at Jeff's house.
Oh, yeah, that's his name.
Jess, yeah, Jess calling him out for, you know, fraudulent lyrics, or even something as small as the slight transition in the branding of hip-hop. I mean, the 50 cents don't make as much money as the Tyler, the Creator's doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to do with it. I think there's been a permission somewhere along the line to drop a lot of the facade and just be the artist, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if it has anything to do with me. I would imagine. I'll wait for the love song to confirm that.
The ballad.
But I think you're also forcing him to, as far as the way that I see the characters, since you are a grown-up, you're forcing him to become a grown-up. Tariq is not yet a grown-up. He's still finding his way. So you have two stubborn little kids fighting at each other, and we always talked about this in the last season, how I always felt like Tariq was trying to throw him over the edge versus giving him time to come to terms with himself.
Right.
I thought it was the fly.
We have a
fly running around. Sorry. To come to letting him, come to terms with it on his own. You're giving him that space. You're letting him take his baby steps, and I think that's what's making him more comfortable. You're not trying to make him jump over the edge so quickly. I think that's the difference.
But did you get the fly, though?
No. The fly is actually on top of her headphones right now.
Dang it.
Now it's on the iPad.
It's a fly and not a bee.
But
that's a great point. I think that's something that the audience can determine better than I can. Realistically, I didn't know Tariq was going to be in the show. I don't get the episodes that I'm not in. So that was a surprise to me to see that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's awesome if people see the influence of the relationship and all that stuff. I'm not going to lie and say that I was using it in the work, but yeah.
You did not prepare it that way and try to make it happen like that on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to make you a better rapper.
Well, I think that your character is helping Kaldrick become a little bit more of a softer, open individual. When he was with Tariq, he had to go to an empty apartment building or to the LA complex or out of town into a safe zone, so to speak, to be himself. Where, when he comes to your character, he's like, hey, like, I want to be with you. Let's do this. And, your character's like, oh, well, let's go to your place. He's like, no, my dad's staying with me, and that's not cool. So let's go to your place instead. And I really liked the interaction of the dinner scene where you guys are making dinner together, and he's never chopped a carrot in his life. and just that interaction and the sweetness of it, I think, is really the fact that you want to have conversations with him and you're not accepting the aggressive behavior that he's used to is really going to break him past this boundary that he's been kind of holding himself back on. Right. And so my question for you, Jarod, is during this scene, he gets a phone call. Naturally, I thought at first it was Tariq.
I did too. I thought the same thing. But before that, like, my favorite part was you answering the phone pretending to be him. I thought that was the funniest thing.
It was absolutely hilarious. And so when
it wasn't hard to do.
You're like, I'm gonna play, go from being like Barack Obama to being a hard rapper.
Right?
He does the gesture too. That was funny.
So
I pretended I had the size 12 Timbs on with the Rockefeller jeans.
With your undies hanging out.
Yeah.
So my question is naturally we find out that his dad had a stroke and that his dad's in the hospital. Do you think that your character is going to help him through this time? And do you think because of this, it'll bring you guys even closer together?
Yes.
Do you know? Do you know? Do you think? Do you think, or do you know? What do you want to tell us, Jarod?
What can you tell us?
I would hope that the precedent that we set going forward would imply that I got his back emotionally. He has to call me from the hospital. He has to come support me. He might call Tariq and the new white guy. I don't know.
Now, do you think, this is for everybody, well, I guess you probably already know, but do you think that now that the lawyer, or Chris, I keep calling him the lawyer because I didn't know his name forever, now that Chris is finally helping Kal to kind of, I don't want to say come out, but slowly take baby steps. So now that he's finally maturing and coming to his own, and now that his father had a stroke and he could possibly, I'm taking it to the extreme, but could possibly go away forever to the happy place above. Do you think that maybe because of this relationship, because he's becoming more open with himself, that this storyline could be going where he wants to tell his father that he is gay before he...
I think that could kill him. That could kill his dad.
But wouldn't you want
to kill his dad?
No, like the news of it because of his background.
Like, no, he's not going to.
I don't think it would be the best time while he's laying in a hospital bed after having a stroke to be like, Dad, by the way, hey, I'm gay.
But if they said that he's on his way out, do you think Kal would have the balls to do it?
I really hope so.
I hope so too. I think so. In situations like that, you kind of forget all the reasons why you'd be mad at anybody anyway.
Yeah.
So I kind of think that he might. I hope so.
It's an interesting thing, though, isn't it? It's like, do I not do it because he's on his way out, or do I do it and have that my last memory with my father and have him go out thinking negatively? It's an interesting line to cross, isn't it?
It's making me sad.
It is. It's a tough road to cross, and I feel that in this scenario, in this case, I feel that your character, Jarod, is going to really help him through this time and make that decision. And I don't know, that really is a tough one.
Like, this show goes so deep, like deeper than when the season first started, when the first couple episodes started. I mean, it was a good show, but I feel like they've taken it so much further now to where this is really a complex show. You see what I did there?
I like that.
But Jarod, I'm really excited. I mean, after talking to you, and granted, I started the conversation a little bitter about the whole Tariq thing, but after talking to you and thinking about the way your character and relationship is going, I'm really glad that Tariq finally has somebody he can be happy with. And it looks like this is going to be a positive relationship where instead of all the negative energy and aggression that he had, you kind of bring him into his place. And that's what I was going to say to you, Miriam, when you were talking about the differences. I would say, to sum it up, Tariq, it was still that do something constantly throughout the whole relationship, do something. But with Chris, he does it automatically. He goes beyond that and tells Kal to calm down.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Kal is
screaming at Chris.
You said what?
Kal ain't screaming at Chris.
No.
Cal's definitely not.
No, that's a good thing about it. It's because you're not going to put up with that crap. So
right.
It's like, go throw your tantrum over there. You come and talk to me when you decide you want to be a grown up. And that's what he needs.
You can break another sculpture. That's fine. Get out my house, though.
That 16-bar. Oh man, I sent him home to change. He came back a brand new man.
Yeah, you did. Jeez.
He brought me home decor.
You better be. It looks like you're doing something right over there.
Shopping for candles are next.
Seriously.
You gotta take that aggro approach.
But Jarod, we could talk to you all day, but we have to analyze the rest of the show. But it was so great having you. What else is coming up for you? Maybe is there going to be a season 3?
Fingers crossed every single day, man.
I really hope
I'm so proud of this show.
Yeah.
Do you have any other?
And I think we got more stories to tell.
Do you have any other projects that you're working on at the moment or coming up?
I'm back home in Vancouver. I'm shooting a new series. It's a DirecTV original drama set in Oakland, starring the wonderful Tandy Newton. So I'll be doing that until the end of the year.
She's hot.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Good for you. Right? Well, make sure to send us the info. We can tweet it out for you and stuff, and let everybody know.
Say again?
I said make sure to send us the link and all that, and where people when it's ready and up and running, so we can send people over to find you.
Absolutely, guys. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. So where can people find you? Twitter, Facebook, website?
Facebook fan page, real name, Jarod Joseph. Twitter, @Jarod Joseph, Jarod. Yeah, I'm all over that. So
all right, man.
You'll be hearing.
And hopefully one day, and I'm really hoping there's a season 3. We can have you in the studio live with us and Ben and Andre, and then we can have a real discussion. We can do a special show about that. That would be awesome.
What are you trying to do?
Cause some drama.
I'm not trying to cause any drama here. I'm just saying,
Make the LA complex more complex.
Yeah. Another pun. I love it.
We want to start our own little web series over here.
Seriously.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jarod, for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time this evening.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for your time again.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Bye.
Guys, that was that was a great interview. I really enjoyed him.
Oh, absolutely.
Really a blast. And obviously that's one of our favorite storylines. So it was really great to hear his side of the story and get his perspective. But
see you kind of calm down.
I did calm down
and kind of warm to him a little bit.
He warmed me up. And I'm really trying to get over the whole Tariq thing, but after hearing that and thinking about, I mean, granted, I just came out of the screening room though watching, so I was still a little aggressive from the whole.
Of course.
I was a little emotional, but
Kellie and I were primed last night.
I know. I watched it.
Yeah, they had a whole day to get over it. But we want to know what you guys think about last night's episodes and even the interview we just had with Jarod and the rest of the after show. So what you can do for us is go to iTunes, search for AfterBuzz TV, and then look for the LA Complex After Show. And all we ask that you do is rate 5 stars, please. Leave a comment, subscribe, and also share with a friend, because even though this show doesn't necessarily get the most views on the TV live, there are a lot of fans who watch LA Complex, tons of dedicated fans. So we want those fans to know about our after show so they can hear all the great interviews we've done and hear our deep analysis and our fun times we have here. We want you guys to enjoy it and also share with other people who will enjoy it. So if you could do that for us. Also, there's a podcast app that you can put on your mobile devices, your mobile Apple-related devices, that will put all your podcasts into a neat little app, and you can do the same thing, rate, comment, and all that stuff. And finally, if people or your friends don't necessarily watch LA Complex, we have tons of other after shows and other amazing great hosts. And we just have the fall lineup that's starting, or I guess it's in the midst of starting now. A lot of fall shows are starting right now, so you can catch those too. So there has to be a show, over 100 after shows. There has to be a show that some of your friends are watching. So make sure you go to iTunes. And also, if you don't necessarily have the time to listen on iTunes, and maybe you want to see us, you can watch us on YouTube, but it would help us out if you go to iTunes still and rate, comment, and subscribe. So
awesome. Yeah. And I mean, we have to catch your weekly love guru advice.
I know. I didn't give any today because Bam hasn't instigated anything, but
well, we haven't gotten into the deep rest of it.
Oh, wait till we get to Abby, it will come. When we get to Abby, it will come.
It will come. But speaking of relationships, Connor and Charlotte and this whole
oh my god, I can't get over it.
Cyanetics?
Roxanne.
No, what was the chick from That's What Was Her Name?
Yeah, Roxanne.
She was such a master manipulator. It was, I mean, this chick, that is her job. She is an actress to the T. It was amazing to watch that, because you know that's what happens in those things.
Oh, absolutely.
Let me pull out all your demons.
I didn't know that though, and Miriam had to tell me. I didn't know that in order to get into Scientology you had to pay.
Yeah, and you do those personality tests.
I did not know. See, I'm learning about this religion stuff I didn't know.
You're surrounded by it. We're in Los Angeles,
and I don't want to know anymore. That's really creepy.
It's interesting to say the least, but people are attracted to it and drawn to it. Whatever makes you happy. Buddha, God, science,
whatever.
Dianetics, whatever. But it's interesting to see that Connor's character is being manipulated not only by his sister, and I can see why it's working with Charlotte so much, because he sees her and she's a cutter, he's a burner. They're both facing the same issues, the abandonment issue. His mom left, mom killed herself on her end. So they're dealing with the same thing, and they're trying to find a way to cope. And so for her, this was her outlet, was is it Cyanetics?
Mm-hmm.
Cyanetics.
Where did she get the $10,000? That's what I want to know. Where did she get the $10,000
I still don't trust her as his sister, and I'm waiting for it to come out.
But they had a DNA test.
I know.
Maybe the Cyanetics people manipulated it.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Ooh.
That guy, the guy who, when he first came down the stairs at the beginning of the episode, was that the same guy that handed her the paperwork, or no?
I think so, maybe.
Because I feel like that was him. Remember? No. Remember at
yes.
He's like the guy that runs the place, right?
Yes.
He's like the director guy.
He was helping her find her happiness, and it would make her happy to find her brother. And if she finds her brother and recruits him in, as we found out, and you now know, she gets a percentage of who she recruits in, which was interesting in the second episode of these two back to backs, was when oh, Eddie's so cute, by the way. Sitting there Googling porn, gets walked in on, and all of a sudden, Connor's got his little Cyanetics book, and he starts, telling him about it. And, well, actually, no. first Eddie starts asking about Charlotte and her web, and if
Charlotte's
web, and if she's thinking about
she has a boyfriend,
if there's anybody she's interested in. And so Eddie in the conversation starts to find out that Connor is now getting involved into the Cyanetics and decides to divulge all this information. The fact that Connor, one, he didn't have enough time to do research. But for him to find out that there's wizards and warlocks and and magic tricks, oh my!
It's all this sci-fi stuff.
It can be a little scary. And so Connor goes and does his research, and now he has this interaction with Charlotte where he's confronting her about, what is this that you're getting me into?
But I feel like, okay, I understand you didn't have time for deep research, but we live in a day and age where everybody has a smartphone. Even a quick little search on Google, he could have found something to say this isn't legit.
I mean, when they walked into the Cyanetics place the first time, they keep you so distracted, it seems, with like, hey, let me give you a personality test. Let me talk to you. Let me pull out your demons. You're not thinking, oh, let me Google your ass. You know what I mean?
Well, and he was apprehensive at first until she started pulling out, I know about your family. Why didn't your mother want you? Why didn't your mother want... Like,
that was mean.
It was
I would have just walked out. Why didn't he walk out?
Because he's too fragile. And he really thinks that low of himself. And this, and this may or may not be, he needs a place where he belongs. Maybe this, I don't know. I don't know too much about that whole thing. Maybe this is the place. But they have such great techniques, because then he finds out about all the sci-fi stuff. He goes back. He's ready to, kind of raise some hell. And then, like, this actor that he admires just so happens to come down. Yeah. Connor, Luke, I'm such a fan. And it just, in my head popped, like, I think that's what probably Tom Cruise does.
Exactly.
That's what I thought.
But you know what popped in my mind during that scene, which isn't even related to the show? Every time in a show or a movie when there's somebody who's portraying a famous actor who's not actually famous in any way, I feel like they're so happy because they're like, oh, I feel like this could be me one day, but it's never gonna be me.
So mean.
but get back to the show now.
No, you're so mean. I love it. I think that with that religion, that is something that they often will do to keep someone interested. And so when they have, Connor, who's now questioning the situation, they're aware of this. Charlotte's now called. She's saying, hey, my brother is freaking out. We need to talk him off the ledge so that way I can keep collecting checks and you can keep collecting checks and we can all move up the ladder. And help me do this. So what do? They put him in the main hallway. They make him wait. He's getting antsy. He's questioning the whole situation. And all of a sudden, big actor comes down who he's admired. It's just a convenient thing, is what it seems like.
I can just imagine that's what happened. Tom Cruise walks by, John Travolta walks by to these new recruits, and it's like
they make him feel all comfortable.
Make him feel all comfortable. And it's like, okay, maybe it's not that bad.
If he can do it, I can do it too.
Totally. I mean, they just, and when people want money from you, they know, how to push your buttons. They know what's going to entice you. And I'm wondering if maybe that's why. I mean, these people obviously aren't stupid, because they wouldn't be operating the way that they've been for years if they were. So I'm wondering if they knew all about her, all about Charlotte, and that's how she got in without $10,000, because they knew she'd come and recruit him.
Ooh, and the plot thickens.
Interesting.
Speaking of plots, Raquel, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Raquel is just
she's scandalous.
A mess. Like, it gets worse and worse I'm like, how can she get any worse? And then she goes and takes it to another extreme. Like,
the girl is desperate.
You know what? You gotta do what you gotta do.
Right, but she's gonna end up going to jail for years by the time she gets through with all her stuff.
Well, not if she's careful. But there is a way to risk getting in trouble with what she's doing, and she does have a conscience, which we see. And it's because she's like, shh. But she almost got busted.
Right.
Yeah.
She almost got busted doing the whole credit card fraud thing. But she's got the bigger picture in mind. And the bigger picture for her is funding this movie that they're doing. And I loved the scene, by the way, when they're sitting there. She goes into the bank and she's trying to get a loan. And then they just I did not expect them to just start filming and
guerrilla style.
She is a brilliant actress. That's all I'm gonna say.
When she hugged the bank manager, and he was like, "Ma'am," she's like, "George."
Goodbye, George.
I mean, it was great, and the thing is, I admire her because even though she's struggling and she doesn't have any roles going on right now, she has accepted this movie role, and I feel like she's kind of getting more down to earth and accepting the fact that she is not this A-list actress anymore, and she's trying to make this movie happen.
And she's a bartender.
Right.
She's doing it by any means too, which is, at first she turns down the whole credit card thing, but then when the one arrogant guy with the $100 bill thing, I mean, that would get me going. You want to try me?
Give me your credit card.
I'm sorry, I can't break this. Like.
But I mean, she's
bam! I'm gonna whack you another way.
She's great. Even when the guy saw her swipe the card the first time and then swipe it again, she was great as far as playing it off, saying, "Oh no, he's really wasted right now. Like he's had too many drinks. Like he's just telling stories." And you believe her. She's a great actress, obviously.
Yeah. Well, leading up to that, she's doing shots with him, shot after shot after shot. Pouring him drinks like they're going out of style. And so, yeah, he is a little drunk, but he's a little drunk to the point where his head's kind of leaning down that he catches it. It's easy for her to accuse him.
Right.
But wow, did she get even more scandalous with that? I mean, he almost jumped over that bar and hit her.
I know.
Yeah.
And then Boss Man, who's totally in love with her, by the way.
We saw this coming.
Yeah,
we saw this coming.
Yeah.
We had to see this coming.
He just totally took it to another
but
level.
I like how the drunk guy bit him.
He needs a rabies shot now.
Totally. But I thought she was very, very, taking risks to have the card swiper on one side and the little thing on the other.
Yeah.
I would keep them in the same,
eyesight,
Because isn't just like a quick pass?
Yeah.
It's not even a swipe. So
no,
why
it's
not?
a quick pass.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, what are you doing? How does everybody not see you doing that? Swipe and swipe.
Or why can't she put it closer to where she plays it off, where it's like, you sometimes have to punch stuff before you put the card in, so it could be like there, and then, okay, here we go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
like where you're just holding it down.
Right.
Yeah, because she's not that
Because hers is it's far up enough where she has to tap it against there and then bring it over here and then swipe.
Yeah. We have to remember Raquel, the actress, has only played a waitress one time in her life. So she doesn't exactly have this
kind of common sense.
nailed down.
Why would you go from one side to the other when you're doing the same motion?
I was gonna say though, when she was trying to find when she was trying to find funding, I thought this was gonna be another storyline, or one of her storylines, where it just faded away, like her pregnancy and all the other stuff, like where the job just went away, because I thought maybe she quit or something. And then
the bartender. Yeah, me too.
I thought it was just gone, and it was like, oh, she's still there.
I know.
Oh no, this isn't gonna fade, only because it's gonna get scandalous. And we'll get into predictions with Raquel, but I don't find this storyline fading.
I just love how the dishwasher is the guy who is doing all this.
It's always gonna be like the busboy or the dishwasher that's gonna be scandalous. They're making the least amount of money, and they gotta skim from the top at some point.
Oh yeah.
I want to ask you guys this: when I was watching, because you remember later on in the episode, or earlier, we'll talk about Cam and Kevin later, but remember when they were saying that Connor was the guy they wanted to play her love interest if they could.
Yes.
When the car pulled up at the complex, I didn't know she was at the complex yet, but when she was walking home and she had the money in her hand,
I thought she was gonna get robbed.
Yes.
I thought she was gonna get mugged.
When we were watching it, I was like, uh-oh, because I thought that was somebody else, and I was like, oh, well, that was a bummer.
I thought they were gonna come up and arrest her or get mugged.
But what's the deal with his sister being like, is that her?
Right, and then she said the same thing. Is that her?
Like, what is that?
She's like, oh, she's tall.
All right, this is what the deal is with that. It's the fact that Connor has family and Raquel. Charlotte is getting him into Cyanetics, is learning all this stuff about him, what hurts him. They're spending a lot of bonding time together. And because it's his sister, he's probably divulging all this information about Raquel. I love this girl. She knocked me down. She makes me feel like this, blah, blah, blah. And so she, I feel that her character is just really trying to, she knows a lot. And so when she's
trying to put faces to names, and she already has her own opinion, maybe
she knows that he's been hurt by her, and so she knows, and so there's that association. And then there is on Raquel, this is the new person in his life that's going to be closer to him and always be with him because it's blood.
Yeah.
blood is thicker than water.
True.
Very true.
I don't know. There's something very weird about that whole thing, though. Maybe I don't know. It's a little creepy, I think.
I still don't trust. It's very creepy.
Borderline creepy.
But the more I think about this show, it really kind of makes me reflect a lot and gets a little too deep. So sometimes I want to get a more lighthearted mood.
Yes.
So in exactly 7 days, Fox is coming out with their brand new Tuesday nights. And you know, we all love a good comedy, and it's premiere Tuesday next week. It's stacked with them. First, Zooey Deschanel is back on the season premiere of New Girl, and boom, just like that, she's laid off and looking for work. Then Family is a Funny Thing from the producers of New Girl. It's the new series critics are calling one of the year's best new comedies, Ben and Kate. And then the season premiere of New Girl keeps on rolling along with a new episode. So that's 2 episodes of New Girls in one night. And then Mindy Kaling has a brand new Office. It's the series premiere of the new comedy, The Mindy Project. And I'm telling you, if you're looking for a night of laughs, Fox Premiere Tuesdays got you covered beginning September 25th at 8 p.m. That's next Tuesday at 8. But you'll probably be watching LA Complex. But just saying, if you want to record LA Complex and watch the Fox broadcasting, that's fine. But I just want to talk a little bit about these shows because New Girl is obviously one of my favorite shows.
I'm excited for it because I want to see kind of where things go and all of that, especially since you know, some of the new characters that came in and all of that. I still want Jess, and I remember his character's name.
The older dude?
But no, the roommate.
They
Jack
need to hook up.
Like, I want them to hook up, and I can't think of his character's name right now.
Speaking of gnarly hookups, dude, Abby and Gray.
What?
Okay. Now I can give my relationship advice. Okay, because this, even looking at my notes, like every single line it literally says, "Who is this dude and why did Abby fall so fast?" Because she literally met this dude like 2 episodes ago, if that, and she declared her love for him basically. And we'll get to the end of the episode in a minute because I literally screamed at the screen. But I just don't understand what. Okay, here it is. This is why she fell head over heels. Because she watched a lot of Saved by the Bell. And she was like, oh my God, he looks just like Zach Morris. And so then she's like, okay, you know, I feel like I know him already because I watch Saved by the Bell all the time. So it makes sense now. Now I understand. No, but it doesn't make sense.
She's a love at first sighter. That's, you know.
This dude is creepy.
She needs a lot of attention.
This dude is creepy. He says he's in the Air Force. He says he's in the Air Force. I don't know if I buy that.
No, I think there's something shady going on.
What is up with his voice? Does he have an accent in real life that he's trying to hide?
It does sound a little weird.
Sounds like sometimes it sounds like he might have an accent, sometimes it doesn't. Or is it just me?
To me, I always hear an accent.
Yeah.
It's very, very faint, but it's there.
Yeah, it's just a little weird sometimes. It kind of doesn't match his face.
Yeah.
Well, I just like how they had, 3 days to be together. And instead of going and as he suggests, going to the opera, they decide to shack up at the LA Complex.
Because that's so much nicer.
And just do what Abby does. In fact, when she started doing what Abby does, I was like, oh, there's Emile's girl whoring it up for him.
That's all we ever see her. Like, she's never dating. She's just having sex or getting dumped.
Right.
Like,
somebody's getting laid.
That's all it is. She's either dumping, getting dumped, or having sex. Like, there's no dating.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to contain myself here, but by the end of the episode, he proposes? I'm sorry, what? Please explain the logical...
He needs more than 4,000 minutes.
But I thought... Okay, let's talk about the natural progression of a relationship, because, I mean, I don't do relationships, as I always say, but I don't understand how this dude's proposing after, okay, let's see how many days it could have been in LA Complex time. Like maybe 2 weeks? How long has it been?
It's got to be a couple weeks, because he went to go see his parents after the movie when they met, and then he came back. That she also made a trip to Montreal during this time with Kaldrick and made it back.
True.
So there's been some time in between. They've probably been doing like over the phone conversations.
Even if it's a month, even if it's 2 months, she tells nothing about this dude. And then it's even more suspicious. Oh, can I come see you off when you go? No, you can't. It's like everything's just so creepy and mysterious. I don't trust him.
Whatever. He has a hot body. It's okay.
And he looks like Zach Morris.
Yes, and he looks like Zach Morris. It works.
That's crazy. She's gonna end up getting like murdered and put in a dumpster or something if she keeps going the rate she's going.
I like how when Nick goes and runs into her outside of their apartments, he starts questioning, so who's this guy? And when she says that he's in the Air Force, he's even convinced that she's made him up. And it's funny because when Sabrina says to Nick, if you're going to talk to your ex-girlfriend, can you at least go downstairs?
Flirt.
Poor Sabrina is laid out in this episode.
Let's talk about Sabrina, because we saw in the preview obviously last week that she was going to meet her, or we are going to see her parents and stuff. But it's just funny. And I think a lot of kids identify with this as far as keeping things from their parents, not to that extreme.
$80,000.
But keeping things from their parents to the point where she had this whole elaborate story that she was still in med school and she's been making straight A's. And I really love how Nick, she told him to lie and cover for her, but I love how he turned it around and took the line to the extreme where I'm a blimp pilot?
A blimp pilot.
Like, I understand what he was doing, but at the same time, I wanted to get your opinions. I felt, even though I completely understand what he was trying to do as far as tell her parents, I'm chasing my dreams, I'm doing the comedy thing. Do you think he was out of line, though?
Telling her parents about his experience and where he's going and what he's doing, absolutely not. Her dad being supportive of him, I'm not shocked by that. Why? Because it's not their child.
Right.
And so for Sabrina, and on top of that all, too, Sabrina's been carrying on this elaborate lie with her parents for 2 years, $80,000 worth.
Well, I don't think Nick is smart enough to realize that somebody has to be paying for this school that she says she's going to, so where's that money going? I don't think he thought that far ahead. Because he's even like, wait, what? How much money?
And I love how after the parents cut her off, he's like $80,000. She's like, it's expensive to live in L.A.
That's $40,000 a year she's been making, kind of just doing comedy. And
her parents are her landlord, so she's not even paying rent.
That's crazy.
She's a good manipulator. Mm-hmm. But we've seen that in previous episodes, that she's good at manipulating the system, and I think that's why she's going to be successful as a comedian. And I love how Nick is so sweet and so naive and just so supportive, no matter how good or bad the girl is to him. And the fact that he was supporting Sabrina, here she's laid out on the floor, he drops her a cup of tea next to her and a bunch of pencils, and then comes back with the pack of here is a hot pack or a cold pack, lady's choice, some painkillers. He just really takes care of his girls, no matter how good or bad they treat him.
I like, too, that he didn't take the blame, that he's like, hey, wait a minute. I told you to tell the truth, but I didn't tell you to embezzle and lie to your parents.
No.
So I like that he made her take responsibility for what she did.
And that's the thing. With Nick's character, he's constantly growing, because before I felt like he would have been like, oh yeah, it kind of is my fault, and kind of shied away from giving her that responsibility, saying, you need to own up to what you did. But now he's kind of turned into a man. I feel like we're seeing a lot of growth with a lot of these characters where
great.
And it's, I guess, especially with Kal and Nick's characters, because of the people they're with.
Well, surprisingly, with Nick, Sabrina made him grow. And now that he's grown, he's making her grow.
Exactly. That's why they're the perfect match.
They
and we said that from the beginning.
They're really, really cute. And she's, I think she is mean because she was, she says as much. She's scared of how much she likes him. She thinks she's in love. And I thought it was the cutest thing. And he's like, no. She's like, wait, what do you mean no? And I thought it was, he wanted to say it first and that whole thing. So, their relationship is really cute. And I think that, she's mean because she doesn't know how to process her feelings.
No.
Like her first thing.
Another thing too, though, which is another thing I like about this show as far as out here, you can't let, which we said this before, you can't let your personal problems affect your work. And I really love how, despite everything she was going through back out, dealing with getting evicted and her parents and everything, he still said, no, here goes your shoes, you need to get to this audition. It's a big audition, like you still need to go. And he carried her into the room, and I just love their relationship. I know Bam doesn't like their relationship, but I love their relationship.
It's the relationship, not exactly that you hope for, but the support that you hope for in this type of environment in Los Angeles, where you have somebody that kind of gets you, that pushes you, that helps move you along, and that's what they do for each other. And I'm loving.
I like that relationship. They need that for sure.
So we saved the best and much hated storyline for last.
Now, wait a minute now, because we have a shocker here. I actually teared up in this storyline today because for weeks, ever since the beginning, this whole Simon and Beth thing, I have just been like, oh my gosh, it's horrible. Like, I don't get where this is going. Tonight, I actually enjoyed it. Oh God, it feels weird.
Can you see why?
Emile was crying for Beth.
Can you see why I was rooting for them the whole time? Why I believed in their storyline?
I do now. It's just such a big build. I mean, I'm appreciative of the build-up, but I mean, I was not expecting my reaction tonight, though, because, I mean, granted, we kind of saw it coming where the father was going to come back.
Right.
But before we even get to that, so let's talk about Beth and Cam. Because I kind of like seeing that relationship.
That was a cute date.
And I think that's another reason why the storyline is nice to get away from the whole Simon Beth casting. She has to be an adult and all this stuff.
She's always just yelling at him all the time. Like, that was getting on my nerves.
Right.
Like, that part of it was just, I couldn't, like,
and then
enough.
I didn't want to see her just have a quick hookup here, quick hook there, and then back to the adult life. No, she went on a nice date, and you see that she's really starting to have a bond with Cam, and
he believes in her.
Right.
He went and, after she recited the dictionary last week, he went and took her to take her SATs.
Which brought back horrible memories.
I was like, God, that must suck. But, he takes her to do the SATs. He's yet another person that believes in her. And that goes a long way in Los Angeles. If you can find people that genuinely believe in you, that will help your success rate, even if it's just like one little thing in a great grandiose way. And so he believes in her. He takes her to the SAT, and then he tries to bring a little bit of home to her by taking her to the ice skating rink, which I thought was hilarious. She was like, yeah, no, just because I'm Canadian doesn't mean that I skate.
Seriously.
So it was cute to have that interaction. She did need some time away from Simon.
Yeah,
she has
absolutely.
I can see where you guys were getting annoyed with her and the yelling at Simon, but how annoying is it to be forced to become a parent when you're not ready to become a parent?
I mean, that's true. It's just her attitude and demeanor constantly. It was just more of a...
It was always the same thing.
Yeah, always the same. And she was never open to getting new ideas. I don't know. But as with every single storyline in this show, as soon as happiness comes, then we have to bring the drama in.
And the parent game.
Right. Her dad comes busting in. And, I think the main reason why I teared up is because once we're finally introduced to the father, he literally pissed me off. Like, I understand what he was doing. Yes, you've been gone out the picture. First, you've been gone for months or I don't know how. He's been gone for quite some time. And then you come in and act like everything's all great and dandy. Like, you haven't been gone. Like, oh, yeah, I was just trying to find a job and do this and that. No, you abandoned your kids, buddy. You abandoned your kids without anything.
No money, no home.
Right. They've been living out of a car. And then they find this complex. And you come back in now that you're on your feet and you can try to take them back to where you've made your life, but no, they've made their own little life here. And then not only do you come back and try to show them that you're good, but she's trying to say, this is our job now. We have to support ourselves out here in our new home. And you're trying to distract the son while he's trying to focus on his audition, which it was for a feature film.
Right,
so
yeah.
It's not like it was some baby audition. It was for a big project. And I can understand, taking a break. But he could have done something where, okay, let's go grab some ice cream and then come back and do this. Not freaking go to the theme park for a whole full day of relaxing. When
Feed him junk food like it's going out of style. When poor little Simon puked, I was like, oh, you poor thing. One, he's not used to eating that much food at all. He barely eats. He eats like, once a day and half a Pop-Tart at that. Right. So for him to be indulging in junk food and then going on these rides and then puking up his poor little face, I just felt terrible for them. And with how this show ended tonight.
Oh, God.
Here they come back from the amusement park. Simon's laid out. He's tired, exhausted, and probably still nauseous from the day. And Dad's ready to take him back to Canada or to wherever he wanted to take him to. And Beth was not having it. And I like that she was like, no, I'm sorry. And he really tried to force her. And I've seen this happen with people where it's like, well, you don't have a choice. She's like, dude, I'm 18. What do you mean I don't have a choice? I totally have a choice. But in that moment, Simon doesn't have a choice.
And that's when I teared up.
Yeah.
That's when I teared up, because that moment I was like, as soon as she said, I'm not leaving, I was like, oh no, he's going to try to take Simon.
Oh, yeah.
And then when he woke him up and then she kind of said, no, you can't take him. But then I think she convinced him not to. But then later on, we see him dragging like Simon down the steps.
Yeah. No, what it was is that he had asked Simon, he's like, Simon, buddy, do you want to come with me?
Simon said,
what about Beth? Beth's not coming. Beth's like, I can't go. He's like, well, I want to stay with Beth. Now, he's familiar with Beth. Yes, he wants Dad around, but Dad hasn't been there. And Dad is
not reliable.
He's not reliable. He's playing in the mountains where there aren't any kids, and the fact that he compared that to an amusement park was just ridiculous. And so And Simon wants to act. That's the reason they went to LA in the first place. Why is he going to go up into the mountains when he has this opportunity that he loves and is passionate about, and Beth is there to support him to do so?
Right. Well, I like how Connor stepped up, though, in that moment, though. You know, he all of a sudden was assertive and protective and, you know, was like, no, put that kid down.
Wait a minute. We can't forget Gray now.
No, he had the other side. He had his back.
All the boys from the LA complex
all the
just
boys
went,
came out. You know, but that shows the family that the complex is. Everybody came out. Everybody was like, whoa, whoa, what's going on? You're not taking him. And I liked that family unit that they have there. And it, you know, that was a moment that showed that. I thought it was cool.
I love the LA complex because at one point in my LA complex, I had the same feeling where you just kind of have that sense of community and you have each other's back.
Right.
Absolutely.
You have each other's back. And so,
it's like our AfterBuzz family.
You know? All kinds of love. And speaking of love, let's get to some news.
Yes, news.
Before our predictions.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So I was very excited to find that the Wall Street Journal of all media outlets, did this whole delicious article on the LA complex talking about...
That's our new word, delicious.
Yeah, delicious. I have catchphrases, and I'm very attached to cliches. Roll with it, deal with it, get over it. But they did this really great article breaking down the characters and the storylines and saying how one comparison was how Entourage, the show Entourage, shows the 1% of the people that make it in Los Angeles, and where this show is a little bit on the darker side, and it shows the reality of what it's like in Los Angeles. It's not always, you know, what kind of car were they driving in Entourage? Why can't I think of it? Maseratis or Lamborghinis, and it's not all mansions. It's sometimes you're living in a studio apartment with like 2 other people and just trying to make it. And the creator went on into this interview in talking about certain things. The one problem we suffer from a poor log line. When you hear about it, you feel like you've seen it. And so that's been the unfortunate thing. But he said that the CW has been very helpful with, you know, the process of bringing it into the States, especially because in Canada there's censorship. There isn't censorship as far as like side boobage, and there is here, which is so weird. That they would be so censored about it, but he said the CW has been very, very helpful with that. And he also went on to say, and Bam's not here, but baby, your Alicia's coming back. And he went into detail. He's like, even some of the characters that aren't doing well in LA, it's kind of like the Hotel California. Once you get here, once you leave, you can never go back to where you came from. And he also went into the article into saying how when people come to Los Angeles, like if you come out to LA to make it and you go back to Georgia, and you don't, people are be like,
what happened? Oh God, you're a disappointment.
But if you went from Georgia to Texas and went back, it would be just another day, another dollar.
Right.
So there's something about the energy and the beauty that's attached to Los Angeles that has people expecting success. And so the LA complex, as they expressed in the Wall Street Journal, really paints a real picture of what this show is about. And even though they've taken a minute to kind of get some traction, it has grown and gotten so much love. And so, rock on LA Complex.
That's great.
We have your back.
Love it. No, there's been some great articles like that, and I'm just glad more people are taking notice because the storylines are, you know, getting pretty deep.
And all we can hope for is that with all this good press from this high-profile outlets, that we will get a season 3.
Oh yeah. Putting out the good jujus.
Absolutely.
Really hoping, because next week is going to be our last week.
I know.
2 episodes back to back next week.
So let's make some predictions.
Ooh.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Kal and Chris.
I think Cal's dad's going to die.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I kind of see it happening.
I kind of think that he's going to slowly come out of it, but I think Caldrick's going to have to take some responsibility in taking care of him. That's going to bring them closer, and that's going to make it easier for him to be open, because now his dad's going to be at the mercy of Caldrick's hands.
That's true.
And Chris, I think, is really going to help him along with this process and just really ease him into this in a mature way, unlike Tariq could have done for him. So I'm really excited to see how this storyline pans out.
Well, do you think Tariq's coming back at all?
I'm sure he will. It wouldn't be complex if it wouldn't He has to. I think he will. We have 2 more episodes next week. We'll find out.
Maybe in some capacity, but maybe not in the same.
In a flashback?
Huh?
In a flashback?
Well, no.
I hope not, though.
Well, maybe, they can find a way to be friends.
I just want him to come back and fight with Chris and steal his man back.
So do you think Abby and Gray are going to really get married?
Well, we saw in the preview that they do. So.
Oh my God, did they really?
Do you think it's gonna last?
Lasting? No. She's like, if she wakes up, what did we do? We got married. That was the preview. So it's like.
She's gonna end up in the dumpster. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
He's gonna take off. It's gonna be.
That's wrong.
I'm just saying. Why would you get married? Continue. Who's next?
Connor and Charlotte.
I'm telling you, it's a whole Cynex conspiracy. I already made it.
They have so much money. They probably fudged the DNA test.
I'm telling you, it's a conspiracy theory. It's a whole conspiracy.
I think Raquel, when they do this little movie with Connor, is their relationship once again is gonna get close, as we saw in their interaction, and I think she's gonna talk him off the ledge, and I think they're gonna reconnect. Although we did see, I think the burning down of his house is gonna catch up with him.
Yes, he gets arrested for something. It's got to be that.
Nick and Sabrina, happily ever after.
Yeah, they're happy right now.
Yeah,
happily ever after. And then Beth and Simon.
Well, we see Simon gets taken away by somebody, so I wonder if
Child Protective Services.
If the dad, really
what a
tries
cruel
to
man.
press.
If anything, instead of trying to take him back, he should at least give the kids like a stipend every month or something, instead of trying to. I don't know. I'm just pissed about that whole. I'm emotional.
He's very torn.
Very emotional tonight.
I know. PMSing.
That's awesome.
My man PMS.
It exists.
Guys, I'm really sad. Bam will be here next week. I'm really sad that next week is our last after show for this season. But we've had so much fun. Well, it's not the last one yet, so let me not give the whole speech. But where can we find you guys?
You can find me at Kellie with an IE 079.
Miriam L. Gonzalez on Twitter.
And at Emile E. Jr. and ChasingLA.com. And make sure you go to iTunes, rate, comment, subscribe, but also share. And we'll see you guys next week, same time, same place. We love you.
But not that fly.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.